Hello, everybody. For those of you that will catch the majority of this video live, welcome. For those of you who will view this video at a later time, I hope that it inspires you as well. I am going to attempt this morning to not be as animated as I was on yesterday's video, but those of you who know me and have ever heard me lecture or speak, you know that I'm passionate about what I do. I don't speak on anything that I'm not passionate about, that I'm not aware of, that I don't understand, and that I don't have a strong grasp of. So when I speak from a place of passion, a place of certainty, and a place of high expectancy and anticipation for what can happen for the people who receive what it is that I teach. Just a brief background. Some of you guys have been listening to me for quite some time. You've read a lot of my work, and that's great. But I'm going to introduce myself real briefly, because most of you deal with me on the interactions that take place within the Black collective. But I operate on a very large sphere as far as business is concerned. And my number one focus in business right now, I'm running about 6 different entities under the cover of Rick Wallace Enterprises, but the number one focus right now is the Visionetics Institute. It is by far the thing that I've put the most energy and effort into over the past 30 years of developing myself. Visionetics is a concept that I created that involves a number of different disciplines and influencers in human behavior and human performance, psychology, sociology, the neurosciences like neuro-linguistic programming, neurological remapping, quantum physics, and understanding how the energy emitted and created through human thought actually impacts the universe from a physiological and dynamic, and many more. So understanding really and truly just how powerful the mind is to make things happen in life, and then teaching people how to correct their thinking, how to actually actualize their potential. And some of the people that I have the biggest problem with are actually people of faith, because they've been immersed in mysticism and emotionalism so long that they don't have any practical grasp on life. Other people that I struggle in reaching are people who are easily caught up in the moment. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Yesterday was more addressing my people of faith about actually just how powerful you are when you truly act on authentic faith, not the mysticism, not the rhetoric and the talk, but literally saying, okay, if I'm created by the most infinitely powerful and all-knowing being in the universe, the actual component of the universe called God, and I'm created for a purpose, it would stand that God created me with everything I need to do everything that I'm placed here to do, and that if I can conceive something in my mind, the very benevolent nature of God would not allow me to have a mind or a brain that can conceive something and then not have it. So if I can conceive it, then it is the evidence provided to me by God in my own imagination that I can have it. Wouldn't it be torture if you could perceive all these things in life and it just gets you emotionally all worked up? You can think and you go, wow, your imagination is going 100 miles an hour. And then you are forced to face the reality every day that that's something you can never have. While a lot of us do that to ourselves, that's not the reality. Anything you could conceive in your mind, your wildest imagination can create, you can have. It's your imagination is the genesis of the manifestation of all reality. If you can imagine it in your mind, you can have it. The problem is we start squeezing the imagination out of our children at around about age 5 or 6, between 5 and 7, when it's time to start going into school. You tell them to stop daydreaming, get their heads out of the cloud, be realistic. Then you send them to a school where they're constantly being told that their dreams of what they want to become isn't realistic. Why don't you think more on this level? Why don't you focus on that? You're not very good at this, so you should probably not be even thinking about that. You should be thinking about this. And before you know it, you've squeezed all of the dream out of them, all of the vision out of them. And then they go around living life based on someone else's definition or opinion of them. It's a bunch of adults out there right now who had the dream squeezed out of them. Some of them by their very own parents, who are your primary label givers during the time that your self-concept and self-image is being developed. And the one thing that I can tell you about the human mind is that in order to maintain sanity, that which you believe about yourself, you perpetuate in order to maintain what's known as psychological equilibrium, meaning that you're going to perform based on what you see yourself as. You can't say in yourself that I'm a failure and go out and perform at high levels. You will sabotage. You can be given every instrument and tool you need to be successful, and you'll find a way to sabotage it if you believe you're a failure. If you believe what somebody told you, that you'll never be good at anything, you'll never amount to anything. It's a bunch of people carrying around baggage somebody else gave them. But one of the things that I have found in essence, that is another inhibitor outside not understanding how to actualize the potential of faith in the truest sense, outside of rhetoric. And that is the inability to see beyond the moment. Another way to put it is the moment that something happens, the moment that things get tough, the moment that there's a setback, the moment that there's a crisis, people go into survival mode. And you can never progress. You will never become everything you are meant to be if you remain in survival mode. Here's why. Your mind, your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. Your mind is the seed of your destiny. Or as I put it in one of my books, your mind is the genesis of your destiny. Your thoughts are seeds. Those seeds are being planted each and every moment in every thought, and they're emitting energy. Okay, so if you're planting a seed, and that seed is about suffering. That seed is about lack. That seed is about what's going on wrong in your life and how you're going to get through it. And that's as far as you can get, because while you're dealing with that moment, you can't see beyond it to see the bigger picture so that you can also plant seeds for that future. You never get to a harvest for the future because you study harvesting the seeds of the moment, which are what I call it's a survival mode. It's that thing where all your thoughts are focused on what you're going through right now. And if that's the case, you're not planting seeds that you can harvest later on. So you consistently just get through the day. Literally, you wake up and there's 50 things in front of you, and all you can go is, oh my God. And you don't know what you're going to do. And it's real. It's there. It's not going anywhere. You got to deal with it. But here's the thing. All you've got is your energy invested in what you're going to get through the day. Guess what you're going to wake up tomorrow and have to do? The exact same thing. So now you're living your life day to day with nothing planted for the future. Nothing down the line that you've planted in the way of your thoughts and seeds, which manifest themselves. If you think that I'm kidding, I mean, this is nothing new. You can go back and read James Allen's book, As a Man Thinketh. You can read The Science of Getting Rich. You can read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. You can go down, it's book after book, it's scientific study after scientific study. Your thoughts literally emit energy. And there is a talk among those who move around and examine and explore what we call spirituality, primarily because it functions on a realm that we don't necessarily understand. But what it is, it's just a deeper existence of who we are. We exist more than what we feel, see in the body, because let me explain something to you. If you think this body, this shell that you operate and live in, is the core existence of who you are, it simply houses this magnificent reality or entity that is perpetuating an energy that has always existed. Let me explain to you how I can prove that real quickly. If you go off into the world of biology, you'll find out that right now, just since I started, you've literally replaced hundreds of millions of your cells. Every second, you're replacing 10 million cells in your body every second. What that means is while you have hundred quadrillion cells in your body, it means by 3 months from now, every cell that currently exists in your body will no longer be there. Your body will have regenerated itself completely. So the thing you see in front of you now is not what you will see in a month. So that's not you. But yet, 3 months from now, while your biological makeup will be completely regenerated, you will still be you. See, that's starting to open up what you can understand about who you are. You exist outside of the body because the body's regenerating itself. It's just simply a mechanism and a tool for you to perpetuate the reality that you were designed and placed here to perpetuate. The seat of the soul is the truest nature of the existence at any particular moment. But what we know now is that science has proven that the body thoughts emit energy into the universe, into the world. Now, let me explain to you. In the spiritual world, they talk a lot about frequency and vibration, and that's not an analogy, hyperbole. It's not metaphorical. It's literal. When you have a thought, that thought literally emits an energy at a specific frequency into the universe, out into the air, out into space. And that frequency creates a vibration. Now, it depends what type of thought it is. If it's a thought about suffering, it's a thought about anger, if it's a thought about being unappreciative, if it's a thought of complaining, all of those things are what you call low frequency. It's low frequency energy creating low frequency and low vibration. And here's the thing. How energy moves on energy is through a process called resonation. Resonation means that energy finds energy that's like it, and it connects and draws to it, and it resonates. And what happens is it will attract energy like itself, commune with energy like itself. That's why negative people seem to find negative people. That's why negative people always find negative situations, because you're literally manifesting and drawing to you negative situations through a number of different ways. First of all, when you constantly think negative, you create a negative perception or a lens through which you view life. So everything you see, no matter what it is, you see it in a negative light, because that's the mindset. That's the state of being that you've placed yourself in. It will control how you engage everything. If you wake, first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I get up and I go through a process called priming. Priming means that I set myself to be in the most optimal state possible. That means I get rid of any negative thoughts. I get rid of any ingratitude of any ideas or thoughts of not being appreciative of what I have. I start with being grateful for the things that I hold most dearest to my heart. Obviously, number one being my wife, my children, my mind, and the capacity to know that no matter what challenge I come into during the day, that I'm equipped and built for that battle, that there's nothing that I'm going to face, no challenge I'm going to face, that my design and my experience in this life and my ability to create solutions out of thin air can't handle. I'm built for this. So I wake up every morning and I tell myself, you're going to face some challenges today, but you're built for it. So when it comes, you don't get shaken. You don't become frenetic. You don't become unglued. You don't lose it. You stand up and say, you know what? I'm built for this. And then you prepare to go into it. What that does immediately is it sets the stage for you encountering challenges. So you don't look at them as, oh my God, oh, what am I doing now? Here I go again. You start talking yourself into a deeper hole of reality. But what I can tell you is this is what science has shown us, that resonation is so powerful that you're literally creating your future realities with your present thoughts. Let me show you how. We know that we've proven scientifically that thoughts create and emanate energy, and that energy resonates with like energy. In other words, things on a certain frequency attract things on that same frequency. So energy interferes, interacts, and imposes itself upon things with the same frequency. How I can explain that to you in the easiest sense is, those of you who are old enough remember this, they don't do it that often anymore. But when I was growing up, there used to always be these commercials and these shows where this one lady would hit this unbelievably high note, and when she hits that high note, the glass in the room would shatter. And I used to go, man, that ain't real. And then I started to look at it in scientific projects and found out that it's absolutely real. But what causes that woman's voice that's nowhere near the glass, maybe 5, 6, 7 feet away from the glass, cause the glass to shatter? Well, if you were to take a metal rod or a metal pin or a small metal hammer and tap that glass would emit a sound. And guess what? The sound that that glass emits would be on the same note, same frequency, same sound as the one emitted by the woman. What happens is when she emits that note and that energy, because that glass is on the same frequency, it's drawn to it. It absorbs the vibration, but the vibration is too powerful for the structure, and so it explodes. That is how energy attracts itself. It's called resonation. And so if you want to resonate with the things and impact the things and have the things that are positive and powerful and create, be able to create great things, then you've got to elevate your thinking, to elevate your frequency, to elevate your vibration. Now that sounds spiritual and it sounds, but what it is actually quantum physics. It's God creating a universe that is in such order that he set laws in motion, the laws of cause and effect, the laws of mentalism. All of these things are in effect and they operate the same way every time. That's what a law is. It does the same, it produces the same results with the same equation every time. It's mathematical certainty and accuracy in performance. So when you do it, that's what the science of getting rich is all about. It's like anybody can do it. Everybody has access to it. There's no such thing as lack. The universe is actually designed to produce and give you exactly what is necessary and needed in the amount that is demanded of it. That's why I tell people all the time that life will pay whatever price you demand of it, because the universe is a universe of abundance, meaning that when you really trace back every ounce, like there was a theory once upon a time that the emptiness in space is just void, it's just a black hole, but we find out that the emptiness in space is full of nothing but energy. So that energy at the time is not yet formed. So there's this blackness, but when you move into it, you find that every particle of energy at the most microscopic level, the most subatomic level, is actually moved by other energy. And when you can emit, and there's science that proves this as well, that the thoughts emitted from the human mind moves the energy and the particles of subatomic matter. So you're literally moving the universe literally with your thoughts. And at the most subatomic level, this energy has not yet been formed into anything definitive. It is simply potential. So that when your energy moves against it, it determines what it will become. And it becomes what it is demanded to become. And if it's negative energy, it will produce negativity. But if it's positive energy, it will begin to produce positivity. Just watch, just practice it for a week. Sit up and wake up every morning and put yourself in a state. Tell yourself to be grateful, no matter where you're at. Don't be grateful because you're going through something bad. That's silly. Be grateful because you're built for the battle. Be grateful because that moment is temporary. Be grateful because you have the power inside of you to create. The only creature on this planet God designed to create reality. You are a creator, like you remember you're made in the image. So that thing means that you are able to do things that the creator is able to do. You can create realities from your thoughts. It's not mysticism. It's not magic. It doesn't happen overnight. It comes from having the right frame of mind, of believing in yourself, and confidence and expectation. I tell people all the time when I'm working with a client one-on-one, when I'm speaking to a crowd, God, the universe, however you view the infinite intelligence that designed this unbelievable thing that works like clockwork, will only meet you at the level of your expectation, not beyond. God will never meet you beyond your expectation. What you expect is what you get. Ask the children of Israel who said that they could go off and they could not go over into Canaan, cross over the Jordan and go into Canaan and take the land. I believe it goes something like, Moses, I have heard their complaints against me. So you go back and you tell them that As they have spoken in my hearing, so shall I do to them. What he was actually defining is that as they spoke into the universe had already moved, started to begin to move and conspire to bring them what they had already determined they were going to have. The inability to cross over, meaning that they will never have it because they didn't have the courage. So there's a reality that you're creating now. The problem is, don't get so caught up in the moment that you're in now that you lose sight of what's beyond you. People sit up and they ask me often, especially about 5 years ago in 2012, which was undoubtedly the worst year of my life. And they would walk up to me and go, man, knowing what you're going through right now and then watching how you move and the mindset you have and the mannerisms you have and that spirit you have, it's like, I don't understand it. What is it? And I say, I've learned how to live in my destiny. I operate in my current reality, but I live in my destiny. And they're going like, what the world does that mean? That means that I've learned how to look beyond the moment, see what I'm built for, what I'm headed for, what's mine, what I'm fighting for. See, when I'm fighting for something, when I wake up in the morning, I'm not waking up just to be here today. I'm waking up because there's something in my future that I've already determined I'm going to accomplish, I'm going to have, I'm going to do. And I'm already waking up every morning, living in that moment. I can see it. I've created a vision so vivid that I can see it. And I'm living in it. I'm walking in it. I'm there. So I'm operating and handling today's issues, but I'm seeing beyond that so that I'm sending out thoughts that are embracing that moment, that are attracting things. Let's make an analogy to seeds, because we say that seeds, your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny, the thoughts are your seeds of your future. Let's talk about how that works. When you plant an acorn, which is a seed that produces an oak tree. When you plant it, you don't go out the next day and have an oak tree. Matter of fact, you don't go out the next week or the next month and have an oak tree. So what's going on? It's going through what's known as a gestational period. What happens though? That seed knows what it is. It knows what it was meant to become. It was put out for the sole purpose of becoming the oak tree. It knows in its very nature of consciousness. That seed literally has consciousness. Every subatomic particle in the universe has consciousness. Matter of fact, when you trace it to its most microscopic level, every particle of energy, when it reaches its most subatomic level, is converted from energy into consciousness. In other words, that's where you find the mind of God in everything. That's why everything operates and produces exactly what it's supposed to. It's order. But anyway, that seed knows what it's supposed to be. It knows what it needs. So when you plant it in the ground in fertile soil, it doesn't just sit there and wait for something to happen. It literally begins to attract the right nutrients from the soil. When the water is planted, it absorbs exactly the amount of water it needs and dispels the rest so that it doesn't become oversaturated. It's constantly working to produce what it's going to become. It's not there yet, but it knows what it's going to become. So it's working towards it. It's putting out the right type of vibes to attract the right things. The seed is doing this. The seed is doing this. And then over time, it's a drawing that then roots begin to sprout out and it begins to set out the base and the foundation of what's about to be built. The most strongest, small tree, because you got sequoias that do some pretty amazing things and last like, thousands of years. But anyway, you've got this unbelievable, heavy, strong tree that's going to come out of this small little acorn, but it's going to go through a process. But see, the acorn knew the process and knew what was necessary the moment it was set out and planted in the soil. So when you emit your thoughts begin to attract to you. That's why William Hutchinson Murray said that it's not until you make the decision and the commitment and step out that providence moves. See, that's faith. See, if I can figure it out, I got all the answers. That's not faith. That's rationalization. That's planning. That's strategy. You should be able to nail that with your expertise and with the right team around you. You can get strategy. You can get reason, rational, and do all that. That's not where you do the exceptional and the phenomenal. That's where you nail down average. That's default. See, you're average by default. When you come into this world, if you just show up, do what you can figure out and reason, you'll be average. You'll be just like everybody else. But it's when you're willing to do the things that most people won't do that you'll be able to accomplish and see and have the things that most people don't have. And that calls for you to be willing to step out into a dark spot that you cannot yet see the path to, but know that that's the direction you're headed in, and that you're going to produce everything that's necessary. And that's what William Hutchinson Murray says. He says that when you make the decision to step out, when you find in yourself that capacity, that ability, that faith, that will, that courage to step out before you have the answer, because you may not even be built yet for what you are looking for or trying to accomplish. You might not have the knowledge yet. You might not know the right people yet. You might not have the expertise or the supporting cast yet. But what you do know is that's what you want and that's where you're headed. So what you do is you step out, and William Hutchinson Murray says, that's when providence moves. That's when all types of material assistance starts to happen. That's when people you never knew, or people pass by you every day that you spoke to in passing and never gave a second thought, all of a sudden stops by and say, hey, I've been noticing you. What is it that you do? And it turns out that that's the person that has the pathway or the key to get you to the next level, or to introduce you to the person that's going to take you to the next level or open another door for you. It's that when you step out, those things that were always around you that you paid no attention to were not there. But see, when you sit up and you set your mind on something and you tell yourself you're going to happen, a neurological process takes place. You have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, the conscious brain and the non-conscious brain. But what happens is your conscious decisions are only, your conscious decisions and your conscious thoughts only control about 2-4% of your total reality. Most of your reality is controlled through several mechanisms created by the subconscious mind and the non-conscious brain. In other words, it's what you program, the thing within the computer of the mind that holds everything eternally, that you get the most productivity and the most of your actions out of. Well, anyway, a neurological process happens when you make that decision. You tell your reticular activating system, which is literally a biological piece that's a part of the neurological process, what's important to you. Now you have said this thing is important to you. The reticular activating system communicates to the subconscious that this is important. Now things that you have been around your entire life that you've not given one thought to is illuminated. Why? Because now it's a part of the thing that's important to you. That's how powerful this thing, our brain, and then this immaterial thing, our mind, is when they start to work together. You can kind of look at the mind, you can kind of look at the brain as being this, the most vast and most powerful supercomputer to ever exist. And you can look at your mind as the user. So what your mind demands, first of all, what your mind puts into the supercomputer determines what it's able to give you back. Second of all, when your mind is doing a search, what it asks the supercomputer will determine the answer. A lot of us are getting results because we're asking the wrong question. If you're constantly asking why you can't make it, if you're constantly asking why do you suffer or struggle at opening or doing business or handling your finances, why you struggle in relationships, guess what? If you go on Google right now and you type in why do this happen, it's going to give you the answer to the question that you asked. It's not going to go find a reason to prove what you asked wrong. So if you're asking it, why am I a failure? It's going to go out and find every reason why you suck. And then what's so crazy about it, the servo mechanism working with the reticular activating system will filter out any evidence that you happen to come across that proves the question wrong. If you come across evidence that says you can, it will filter it out because it doesn't line up with the thought, doesn't line up with the belief. It doesn't line up with how you feel. Because if you're asking the question, why am I a failure? You believe you're a failure. And that limiting belief is going to lock you into what you're able to accomplish. And every question you ask is going to go into the search engine of your mind and produce results to reinforce it. You've got to change the paradigm. You got to change how you think. You got to change how you see yourself. You got to do that. You got to go back and revisit the moments in your life where you defined certain experiences in a certain way that told you that you were a failure, that told you that you weren't smart, that told you that you weren't capable, that told you you didn't have enough potential to do anything but be average. Now you've got to redefine those moments. And when you redefine those moments, you give it a new meaning. And when you give it a new meaning, you create a new belief. You literally shut down one neurological synaptic connector that's housing a memory that has been defined in a certain way and ultimately become a belief. You shut that one down by not accessing it. You go back, you create a new one that says, no, that's what this meant. There are people now that are afraid of dogs that had one experience when they were a child, interpreted that experience as all dogs are dangerous. And no matter what happens, no matter what encounter they have with a dog, that dog is trying to hurt them. I don't care how big it is. I don't care what's going on, how friendly it is, how much it licks them. Oh my God, he's going to lick me to death. That is the power of your belief system. So you got to go back. That's what I do with my clients. I take them back to that moment that defined who they were. A lot of times it was their primary label givers. That's why I tell you, do not kill the visions, the dreams, the imagination of our children with your limited thinking and your limited beliefs. If you got a child that's dreaming about doing something that you can't even wrap your head around, just step back and move back and let them dream. Because when you start trying to squeeze them into your reality, you suck the life out of them. But there was a point in time. A lot of times, your primary label givers, first and foremost, are your parents, the people who are around you the most, who have the authority in your life. And then your second level primary label givers are your teachers. They spend the most time around you in your early years, and they have a position of authority. You tend to take what they say as truth. And so when they're telling you that you're not that smart in this area or you're not that good at that area, you take that. You literally take it and you begin to establish beliefs about yourself that start to limit you. The thing is, anything you decide to become, especially anything that's good, that's going to benefit you and others around you, cannot be withheld from you. Absolutely nothing. The only reason you don't get it is that you have a limited belief that you have accepted in your mind, and that limited belief is guiding your thoughts, guiding your destiny, guiding your behavior, guiding your rituals, guiding your habit. All of that stuff forms from the mind. And what you're creating for yourself is exactly that. So what we know, and I can go on and on and on about this all day, but what I want you to try to get a focus on is seeing beyond the moment. But that requires a paradigm shift. That requires you to be able to look at a situation through a different lens. A paradigm, in the simplest definition, is simply the way that we view the world, the way we see the world operate, the way we associate ourselves with the world. It's the way we interpret life and we see things, and it controls how we engage every situation. If it's a paradigm about relationships, we judge and see every relationship through that paradigm. And if we're functioning through a faulty paradigm, we're going to consistently end up doing certain things in relationships that sabotage them, that create negative influence, or we're going to continuously attract the wrong type of people to us because the paradigms we have about relationships are on a very low frequency. The thought processes are constantly going out. Man, this dating game sucks. Relationship sucks. I'm never going to find the right type of person. Love don't love me no more. All love don't live here no more. All this other stuff that you study admitting. Everything that you bring to you is based on something you sent out. All of us are at an age, well, I don't know, a lot of us are at an age now where we're probably starting to slow down. Some of us are still social and out there doing a lot. I've got so much going on that when I'm out in the public, I'm out actually doing something. But that was a time I sold up the club. I mean, I had it on lock. I was doing all the stupid stuff I'm talking to young brothers about doing now. And the thing is, I'll be in there and, I look at myself, I'm feeling myself. I got a lot going for myself. And so I can understand the attention that I'm getting from the female persuasion. But that will be this one cat in the club. He ain't pushing the bands, no Beamer, you know, by all definitions, average cat, not very attractive. And he's pulling them. And I'm looking and I'm going like, who is this dude? You know, just like what it is. What it is he's got an energy that he's emitting. He no matter what somebody else thinks about him, he's feeling himself. He's feeling himself at a level that he's emitting this energy that not only it attracts women, it attracts the type of woman he likes. So he's not just getting a bunch of women rushing him. He's getting the ones that he likes. He's literally sending out signals so defined that he's attracting to him the right look, the right conversation, the right mind. And it's like he's jiving. He's just this person. And actually, he's not supernatural. He's nothing special about him. He's just taking advantage of what's in front of him, probably in the wrong way. But yet, he's doing that. Now, the thing is, that happens with everything in life. You attract to you what you put out. And you've got to learn how to put out energy that brings to you the things you want. And in order to do that, you can't live solely in the moment of a struggle. You can't go into survival mode. Survival mode will have you waking up every day just getting through that day. And you will look up and it'll be 20 years and you will have 20 years of getting up every morning and just getting through the day, just trying to find a way to make things happen so that you can live. Sometimes you got to be willing to look beyond that and focus on what's coming afterward. Build that, stand on it, focus on it, shift the paradigm in which you're viewing things and understand that there are things that you cannot control. Some things are going to come at you in life. The vicissitudes of life are going to roll into your paradise. I don't care who you are. That's because you're not the only one out there thinking. There's some people out there that want anything more than your demise. It's some people right in your periphery, speaking in your ear, standing face to face with you, that wake up every morning hating your guts because they see the joy in you. They see the peace in you. They see the promise in you. And they long ago gave up on their vision, on their dream. But you still got to hope. You're sinking and they're celebrating it. You're sinking, but you still got hope. They celebrating it. But what you don't get is the energy you've allowed and attracted to you with your focus and your survival mode has them adding weights to you and causing you to sink quicker. But when you step back and look around, you clear out the people who won't elevate you. Clear out the people who are always constantly telling you why you can't do something. I call them minimal-minded people. They love to whisper the sweet nothings of negativity in your ear. But you have the power to choose who you allow in your periphery. You have the power to control what you think. You are in control of your conscious thoughts, and your conscious thoughts are what communicate through your reticular activating system, the RAS, and then translates down into that power structure of your subconscious mind and tells it what's important to you. It tells it what you expect. It tells it where you're going, and it starts to go to work as a servo mechanism, a cybernetic mechanism that literally produces the desired result through a natural process of illuminating the things necessary. I mean, that's what providence begins to move, because that is the power you have to illuminate the world around you. The problem is your frequencies you're emitting, because of the moment that you're in, is holding you down. Step outside of that moment. See beyond that moment. I'm not saying ignore it, but there's this thing, and people will tell you, one of the quickest ways to get ejected out of my space is to come into my space with people who are starting to really feel and dream and start talking about that's not realistic or be realistic. You got to go. Why? Because you just tried to impose your limited beliefs and thoughts on people who are trying to open up, and that can't happen in my world. It means that you not only have limited beliefs, but you want everybody else to operate within the scope of your limited beliefs. You can't be around me, because see, reality is what you make. It literally is what you make it. It is literally what so you're telling me that right now that I'm not going through this. No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that that reality was created by a number of different circumstances, which you at the ultimate level are in control of. If you got a person that you're in a relationship right now, an abusive relationship, and you trace it back to the core, you are in control of it. Matter of fact, there's something God placed inside of all of us called intuition. It's at its most powerful in the initial moments of engagement. When you first meet somebody, it tells you who they are. But what we've done is we've trained ourselves to ignore it and look at the checklist. I have actually read studies where there's a woman who stood up and swore up and down that when her husband cheated on her 5 years into the marriage, she did not see it coming. That was no sign he's this great man. He's always been this great man. He's always loved me. Was no sign that at some point in this relationship that something inside of him was going to move him to cheat on me. And so we sit down with this psychologist. The psychologist walks her back through her life slowly without her knowing where he's going with it. Just walking her back slowly from the time she found out, for all the things they've been through. And she's actually thinking by expressing all this stuff that they've done together and how awesome it was and how there were no signs that she's actually proving her point, that it was no possible way that she knew it coming. Then we get right back to the day they met. And she's saying, you know, I first met him, I didn't like him. It was something about him I could not tell. But guess what? He checked off too many boxes on her list. He had a 6-figure income. He had a home. He had a stable background. He came from a good family. All these little things she's checking off the box and ignoring the intuition. And while women have it at a higher and a more refined level, men have it as well. But we want to, again, men are even worse at leaning on reason. We're going to figure it out. I know that feeling. I ain't trying to, whatever that is, I ain't trying. There's an intuition. And so even though you got this man in your life now and he's beating on you, or he's verbally abusive, or he's cheating, and you're saying he's doing this to me and it's not my fault and I had no control over it. Yeah, that was a point in time that you allowed a person that had the proclivity to do that into your circle. But you weren't refined enough in your thinking to actually recognize it or receive it or acknowledge it or move on it. And so you got to learn that your thoughts, your mind is designed from the most primitive nature of instinct to detect danger to the highest level of functionality to create new realities. It does it all. We've got to come to that. But I'm going to, check out now. Hopefully, somebody will take the time to actually watch this, get it. For those of you who really want to start working on shifting and changing your paradigms, a link is in there to a course that I created. It actually in the course gives you 2 points of access directly to me, which is becoming a diminishing reality as I move through other things. I'm really cutting down access and time and really focusing on the people I do work with, providing them with unbelievable service and unbelievable results. And yes, it definitely costs. I'm not going to get off into that, but this provides a point of access at a very reasonable price to me. But the course is for you to go through on your own. I'm going to check out now, as I always say. I'm going to down E. And what does that mean? That means 50 years from now, that's how long I plan on staying on this planet, at least. 50 years from now, when I leave this place, I'm not going to leave one lecture unspoken, one book unwritten, one article unwritten, one encounter unoptimized. Every vision, every dream, every idea I'm going to entertain, engage, and go after. And when I leave this place, I will have having left it all on the battlefield. I don't want to take anything to the grave with me. I encourage you to do the same thing. I'm out of here. Peace.